welcome to the very first episode of Effortless PM, your special podcast about project management and clinical research. I am your host Steven from Germany. I have to admit that I'm very excited to start, but also a little bit nervous about this new project of mine. So let's call this episode episode 0. Also, only purpose is to set up a frame and to set the stage up for further engagement. If you are looking for more hardcore content, feel free to any other episode after this one. But I'm also happy if you still stay and listen. So first question, why another podcast? I think this is a very special niche or core bubble to put project management and clinical research together. The focus of the podcast will be on project management, but obviously we will also cover any hot topics from clinical research. In general, based on my experience, project management and clinical research is different from the standard project management approach you can find on, let's say, PMP or PMI. We use, obviously, PM tools and methods, but sometimes differently and sometimes in a strange, you can't say also abusive way to manage our projects here in clinical research. We are in the most regulated environment as we work on clinical trials that impact patients, impact directly human beings. On the other hand, it's also a very adaptive environment, which requires high flexibility to reach each project goal, which in fact means finish a study in time, and that means to minimize risk for the patients and obviously to bring new treatments to them, to bring new drugs on the market. I would like to travel with you guys together in this world and seek for better ways and methods to do our jobs, assess settings and situations we are, and pressure test also traditional methods and processes of project management. There's always something new to learn, so we are going to cover more or less all aspects of project management, but it will be not this kind of general order where we state what is the project and what is management and so on and so on. We will just jump in a wild mixture, depends on what I have in my mind or what recent, let's say, events or experience trigger the topic. To spice it up, I will add some thoughts from other fields and try to transfer ideas and tools. So we will, at the very end, we will be always a little bit smarter as we was before. I would also like to gather with you to explore project management in different aspects of life and business, and not only on clinical research, but also to check if, let's say, standards or paradigm can be transferred to our personal life or to our free time or whatever you have in mind, right? We will try to discuss hot topics of clinical research industry. I will have an eye on development and what's going on there, what's going on in the pharmacy, what's going on in the clinical business at all. And in case of interest, we can also review or react together to any kind of published lectures, books, interviews, presentations, press release, and so on. Finally, I hope we will have a lot of fun together. So next very obvious question is why the podcast is in English and not in German, as that would be is my mother language, right? So I have to say that since the last 20 years I work in this international environment on an international stage with teams really around the world, and in this clinical trial service industry, English is a business language. That means all the terms, phrases, definitions, abbreviations, all the talk is in English, so it's much easier to stick to English instead to have this sometimes odd translation to German. And obvious reason is I hope I will have a broader audience if I talk into English. So why I think I am the person that can do this kind of podcasts. So I work at the moment full-time as a project director. I have nearly 25 years experience in clinical research. The last 10 years I spent more or less in project management. I was already team manager. I was already line manager. I managed freelancers. I managed vendors. I had close cooperation with different clients, big pharma, small pharma, middle-sized pharma, and so on. I have to admit that I always work on the so-called contract research organization. Abbreviation is CRO, but the size was from middle to small and also to global. So I have a good overview how it works in this kind of different company size. In 2015, I had a chance to start a kind of side hustle as a global trainer. So the topics I covered there is clinical research and project management and communication and team management or international team management. And I started to be interested in also this idea to, okay, what could I deliver as a trainer? What are the hot topics to be trained in, which are different teams interested into, and so on. So during, let's say, the last 20 years, there were a lot of up and downs for me in career-wise, and also sideways, right? So that is really the band-wise from completely overloaded manager to nowadays a more kind of pragmatic leader, I would say. And I would like to share this experience and my, how to say, eye-opening event I had with you guys, so that you maybe not do the same mistakes as I did. With the last years, especially after I joined this project management period, or let's say the team leading management, I'm more and more interested in the topics of productivity, in time management, in team management, in communication in general, in how networking works, and so on. And that increased attention to this topic combined with my hobbies like PC gaming, like watching a lot of movies, involved in martial arts training, interested in military and history, in a little bit philosophy, with a strong science background coming from chemistry. I love to travel and so on. So that shows a lot of crossover between very different topics. It really leaves me baffled how much you can learn and adapt if you start looking outside of your project management box. How many concepts you can recognize on topics where you never expected. Just to give you two examples, right? So how risk management is part of if you play computer games, right? Especially strategic computer games. Or how communication strategy plays out if you are in martial art training or contact, let's say, right? So, and I would like to share with you this kind of insights and explore with you what else is out there, right? Okay, so then what are my thoughts about the podcast and the structure of the podcast? So first of all, I would like to start each episode, let's say, with a real life example, and then we will transfer that to clinical research, and then we will try to applicate that to project management or any other aspects of life. Or we will do it on another way around, right? So meaning I will come up with an idea from life, from any other topic, and then we will see, okay, how we can adapt that to project management, and then how we can break that down to specific clinical research project management, and then let's see if I have an example for that, okay? The idea is to publish the podcast weekly, preferable on Sunday. Depends a little bit about my schedule, right? And then I would like to keep it between 20 and 40 minutes, depending on the topics and how the flow is, how I'm motivated to speak about different topics. We will start with recorded audio only. Later, maybe with some videos on YouTube, maybe live sessions I have in mind, interviews, for example. I have also in mind really some live streams if I would like to share with you guys a little bit of a kind of training stuff, let's say. And then let's check if we can, as I said, also find some other brains outside involved in clinical research, involved in project management. If not, which experience they have, which could be useful for us and where we can learn from, right? How long the podcast will survive, I cannot tell you. That really depends on my motivation and on the time I will have, right? At the moment, in the preparation, during a brainstorming session, I put already together 100 topics, 100 bullets. So that means we would have more or less content for 2 years, right? And it also depends on you guys, on the audience, right? So how we will develop, if I can find any listeners, any subscribers to this, if there is interest outside, and so on. So at the very end, to be honest, only my age will be the limit, right? So that means there will be a natural end of this. I know it's already kind of dark, but it is how it is, right? So life will end, so let's see. To summarize, I think we will have a win-win situation. So you will have at least half an hour entertainment. You may learn something new. You may get a different insight to a topic. You may get a sparkle for new discussion or for a new, let's say, new kind of thinking about a topic. You will hear from me a more or less unfiltered opinion about project management, about career, about clinical research, about pharma, about general way of life, about whatever I have in mind. For me, I will get my ideas sorted. I can think loud, which always helps to find a solution. And maybe I also will come up with some new topics about potential trainings or consultations I plan to have in the very near future. I would check out different approaches, as mentioned already, different tools, different methods, find better ways to work smarter, to be more flexible, to reach our goals we have, right? So that we are at the very end, are not so stressful about work, that we find again fun to work together and really enjoy this part, right? This is all about how you enjoy your job, how you can find fun and joy in your job, despite the fact that being a project manager in this field is very stressful. So we will also learn new skills, and I can tell you what I learned already is how to set up a podcast, right? How to write code in HTML to have a landing page, how to speak freely in the mic, right? So that was in fact harder as I thought. So that's all about the podcast. Okay. So before we really start, I would like also to share some disclaimers with you. This is a pet project of mine. That means I do it in my free time. As I mentioned, I have a full-time job. That means there will be limits in time and preparation and effort. And also in case of questions and feedback in my response time. I will try to respond to everything, but it will take time, right? Depending on my workload. Second, whatever we will discuss here, whatever I will bring up, nothing of this stuff is new. Nothing is invented by me. I have no patent on it, whatever. You can find everything in the internet. If you just start Googling for it, searching for it, you will find more details, more complete information, more opinions, whatever, right? And that's not the intent of the podcast. The intent of the podcast is to share my point of view and share my experience. And as I said, hopefully allow you to avoid mistakes I made in the past. Next one, I will experiment with artificial intelligence tools, so with AI. For example, ChatGPT. If you're able to listen to the trailer of this podcast, you will detect that's not my voice, and it's partially my text. So the trailer was created by using AI tools. In general, if I do this, I will flag it if I did it, so that you know, okay, this one is original German Steven stuff, this one is more artificially created. But I think this new tools coming with AI will dramatically shift the landscape of our environment, of our working environment, how we will communicate, work in the future. And currently it's just the start, right? So we will see much more about this and which impact AI tools will have on our life. Last but not least, I am full responsible for what I will say here in the podcast. However, you are full responsible for what you understand. And I would like to make you aware that there could be a difference between both, right? So we will come to that later, but listening doesn't mean the same as you understand, right? So there could be always kind of misunderstanding. However, happy to sort that out, but it is how it is. Okay, so I think that's the short start for the podcast. Many thanks for listening to this episode of Effortless PM. I hope you enjoyed it and looking forward to the next episode. So that I started already, it will be about risk management. In case you have any questions, comments, feedback, please send an email to contact@effortless.pm. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. Steffen Runge Pharma should do it if you search for it. But I'm also present on Facebook, Instagram, X, so if you look for Effortless PM, you will find me. If you want to chat, there's also a Discord server set up already under the name Effortless PM. Please drop me a direct message and I will bring you in. To find everything in written, I have a short landing page of Effortless PM. You can also check out whatever I told you here in there, how you to contact me, a little bit about my background, and so on and so on. So again, many thanks. Looking forward to speak to you again. Bye bye.